Janome.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Live with Janome. My name is Jerry Granata. I am a Janome educator, and I am thrilled to be here. I'm coming to you today from beautiful, sunny, and hot Palm Springs, California, although I think it's pretty hot around the country these days. Hope you had a terrific July 4th. Hope it was safe and fun and full of fun and family. And welcome to the fifth week of the Summertime Skill Builders series. For those of you who have been joining us, welcome back. For those of you who are brand new, welcome, welcome. So let me refresh you or enlighten you into what the Skill Builder series is. It's actually twofold, and it's wonderful. The first part is you get to learn a skill of some kind. You get to kind of add tools to your sewing toolbox. The second part of it is a contest. Now, we all like to win stuff, right? So here's how this is going to work. So what's going to happen is you are going to take a picture of yourself performing the skill or doing the skill, or maybe you're creating a project and you want to add whatever weak skill it is to your project. You're going to take a picture of that and you're going to post it on the Janome site. Now, one of our wonderful Janome team members is going to post the link to that. So it's pretty brainless. All you have to do is take a picture, post it on there, and you're entered in the contest. Now, you have until 3 p.m. the following Wednesday to do the skill for that week. So you get a whole week to do it. And at the end of the summer, what's going to happen is 5 people will be selected randomly to win a wonderful Janome bundle, one of which includes, one of the prizes is a spot treatment for your machine. So how great is it to get your machine into its little spot treatment all nice and clean before those holiday projects, right? I know it's coming, it's coming. So the holiday projects are right around the corner. So let's get your machines clean. Let's win you some great prizes. So again, just a picture of you doing the project, post it to the Janome site. More information will be posted in the comments along with the link. So just kind of be looking there. Hello to everyone. I hope you're having a great day. Go ahead and post in the comments where you're from. Now, it is just me today, so I'm going to try and keep up with the comments as much as I can and try to answer as many questions. I will stick around afterwards as well to answer any questions you may have. And also, our team members are going to be here today, our wonderful Janome team members who are going to help answer questions as we go along as well. So, all right, let's get going. So the skill that you're going to learn today is all about sergers. And I know that can be an intimidating prospect for some of you, but we're going to break this all down. I'm going to show you, the technique is going to be rolled hems and lettuce edge. So they're very similar techniques. They use the same stitch. It's just a matter of adjusting a couple settings. So those of you who do not have a serger can still be part of the contest, and you're going to have to stick around to the end so I can show you how to do that. So if you have a regular domestic Janome sewing machine, I'm going to show you how you can get around this and still enter the contest. But if you do have a serger, this would be a great time to break it out. I understand that sergers can be a little intimidating. I'll be honest, I was intimidated at first too, but it only was because I didn't know. I just didn't have a lack of knowledge of them. Once you realize what they can do for you, you're just going to want to add that to your sewing arsenal, so to speak. They are just a wonderful, wonderful machine that does things very differently from what our regular sewing machines can do. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm excited to show you what the skill is going to be for today. So let me switch over my cameras. We're going to head over to the machine. There we go. All right. So I am on my Janome AirThread 2000D Professional. Love this machine. I am all hearted about this machine. I absolutely love it. I adore it. First off, I just love the way it looks. It's just an awesome looking machine. It's very simply laid out, not intimidating at all. It makes me want to use it. So let's get into it a little bit. So the technique that we're going to talk about is rolled hems. All right, so I'm going to show you some samples of what that is. Some of you may not know what a rolled hem is. So for serging, you may all be familiar with, what we know as the overlocked edge. But I'm going to flip this around, and here is your rolled edge. Look at that beautiful, nice, thin rolled edge. Now, this is the smallest stitch that your serger is going to be able to do. And once you do all your settings, you're going to see how magically this works for you because the machine truly does all the work. So it's funny because these two stitches came from the same machine. It's all just a matter of settings, right? Okay, so now what kind of things can you do? Well, most people who are familiar with sergers know that you can use a rolled hem for like napkins, things like that. So here's just a very small example of a napkin. Now this is a metallic linen. Wouldn't this be a beautiful piece of fabric to make napkins out of? And I'm telling you folks, if you wanted to make a very quick gift, remember I mentioned the holidays earlier, you can crank out a very large set of napkins in about 15 or 20 minutes. It's that fast, and you're going to see why. These would be great hostess gifts when you're going to a party. We all have those last minute gifts, right? Or there's a housewarming going on. These are absolutely great. You can use, what's nice about this linen is it's reversible. So it's the same forward and back. So you only need one layer. These are completely washable, of course. So what great gifts, and just, like Thanksgiving is coming. Wouldn't this be beautiful in like a gold or an apple green or a red or something to that effect? So of course we're familiar with napkins, but a rolled hem and a serger can do so much more than that. So here's another sample that I have using a very heavy gold decorative thread. And you'll notice how much heavier, let me grab my other sample here. You can see how much heavier the seam is. So it's really just a matter of what you want to use. And all I did is I inserted the decorative thread into my upper looper. And I'm going to talk about that too. So don't be intimidated by the names and the phrases. I'm going to tell you all about it. But look at the difference. All it is just changing the thread. And it makes such a dramatic difference. So, okay, now what else can you? Now, of course, garments. We all know we can use rolled hems on garments. So here's a piece of organza. And again, I didn't do anything fancy. I just fed it into the machine, and the machine did all the work. So here is just a beautiful rolled hem. Now, I used a contrast stitching just so you could see it, but you'd probably want to match. All of these kind of scary fabrics that we're all nervous to use because they all shift around just work beautifully on a serger. Again, here's a beautiful rolled hem on a piece of chiffon. So sergers are great for working on these very fine fabrics. You can also do it like I showed you on the napkin. You could do, here's just a little sample piece on a piece of just a woven. And then here's what I'm going to show you later is this lettuce edge. So this can be done on either a knit or it can be done on a woven. It just depends on what you want to use. Now knits, a lot of people realize that sergers are great for knits. So here is a rolled hem on my knit fabric, just a very simple rolled hem. And just with a couple simple adjustments, I have now turned that into a lettuce edge. And again, it's just a matter of my looper and my differential feed. So these came from the same machine. It's the same technique, just a little bit of a switch. So let's get right into it. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to do, and I know that you're going to be afraid of this, you have to break out this scary thing called the manual. And I know I've met a lot of you in events, and I don't even know where mine is, but break it out because when you're using a serger, this is an invaluable piece of instruction. It's an invaluable book for you to have. Not only does it tell you what your machine comes with and how to use it, it breaks down all of these different stitches and the settings that you're going to use. So, you really, really need to do this. Now, a little tip that I'd like to give is in the instruction book, my books are all highlighted and underlined, and I also use these little flags, let's see if we can get it right there. These little sticky note flags. And mine says RH, that's for rolled hem. So all I do is I go on my page and I put my little sticky in there, and there it goes right to the rolled hem, picot edging, and narrow hemming. So there it is, that's it. Now I have made a copy of this page so that this fold doesn't get in the way. So it makes it just a little easier for you. And there we go. Now I have blanked out some of the things that we're not going to use just to keep this a little more simple for you. And I'll bring this a little closer to the camera so you can see it. But really, Janome has done just a lovely job of breaking this down into just going from top to bottom, just follow all the settings and you're good to go. And just let the machine do the rest of the work. So the first thing we need to do is thread the machine. So before we do that, we're going to read our instructions. So the first thing that you're going to do, and you notice this says rolled hemming, we're going to go to our lower looper pretension settings slider. Now that's found right here on my machine where my finger is, but what I want to bring to your attention, set the lower looper pretension setting slider to tight after threading. Do you notice that I have that highlighted, after threading? All right, so that means we have to thread the machine first. So I'm going to put my little instructions right here. And another thing that Janome has done so well is all of my instructions, once I open my looper covers, all the instructions are right here. They're all written right inside for me. So it's really easy just to follow. They're all numbered, just follow the numbers and off you go. So let's get our machine threaded. So the first thing you're going to do is you are going to thread your needle. Now, this is a 3-thread technique. Do you notice I've got 3 spools of thread up here? So the rolled hem is a 3-thread technique, which means I don't need one of the needles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab I'm going to get my camera switched over here for you. I'm going to grab my little accessory box, and I'm going to pull 3 things out of it. So let me switch my camera over. All right. There we go, a little bit closer. So here's my accessory box. It came with my machine. Now notice it says Serger. I have one for my cover machine as well. A lot of people ask me what my favorite Notion is. It is my label maker. I have everything labeled and put away in my sewing room. So we're going to grab our box and we're going to grab a couple things out of it. First thing, when you're using a serger, you really want to have a tweezer. That is one of your best friends with a serger. So we're going to pull that out. The next is going to be our small screwdriver. This comes with a large and a small. We're going to grab the small one because we got to change the needles. And we're going to grab what looks like a medieval torture device. It is not. It is a slick, wonderful tool that I have fallen in love with. This is a needle assist. So what it does is it will help you insert or take out your needles so easily. I know it's tough to see on camera, but there's a half moon shape to it. And all you're going to do is slide this up on your needle, undo your screw. It'll help you take the needle out, and then you can reinsert your needle again. So we just need those 3 things. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is take out my needle. One thing you may notice is my left needle is slightly higher than my right. It is meant to be that way. Do not panic when you get your machine out and your left needle is higher. It's meant to be that way to make the stitch. So we need to get rid of that left needle. So here's where this magical device comes in. So I'm going to insert this into my needle, slide that all the way up. Now I've got 2 screws here that are labeled L and R. So I'm going to remove the left. So I'm going to unscrew the needle, or unscrew the screw from the L, just very carefully. And what you're going to notice is look how that needle just pops right into this device. Isn't that awesome? Isn't that awesome how a device like this can just be so wonderful to your life? It doesn't allow the needle to fall into your machine, and it allows you control over where your needle is, basically. So we'll set that aside. Now we're down to our 1 needle. Now here is a trick or a tip I like to give people when they are removing needles. First thing you want to do, get into the habit of going right back and screwing that screw right back in that you just loosened. If you don't, it could be possible that screw could work its way out and down into your machine. So just get in the habit of retightening that screw after you take out your needle. There, that's that. So now we're down to 3 parts. We have our needle, we have our upper looper, and our lower looper. So let's get to threading. The first thing I'm going to do is raise my presser foot because I want to release the tension discs. So let's go back to the bigger picture of my serger. Just switch my cameras out here. Okay, so there we are. So I am not concerned with this tension disc at all because we removed the left needle, right? This would be my left needle threader. So I'm not going to use that today. I'm going to use my right needle, my upper looper, and my lower looper. And that's all I'm going to be using today. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to thread my needle. Now, the first thing I have to do is come on over here. And again, you'll find all of these instructions in your magic book right here. So don't throw that away. Make sure that's handy. Now, Janome has, and I love that Janome did this, they have a little raised notch here, not only on the hand wheel, but also on the bed of my machine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to always move my hand wheel forward. Do not take it backward. Always turn it towards you. And I'm going to make sure that that notch lines up with the notch on the machine. What that does is it ensures that my needles are now in the topmost position. They're in the perfect position to use the what? The needle threader. Yes, there is a needle threader on this machine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my needle, and I'm going to grab my thread. And there are 3 guides that I'm going to use here. I'm going to go into my right needle guide, pop it into place. It'll snap, come right down into my tension disc, and just give it a little floss. Just pull it back and forth to make sure that the thread is setting right into that disc. And I'm going to come around, and I'm going to put it through all my guides. And now here is the magic part. So I'll switch over my camera to a little bit closer so you can see this, because this is so awesome. Okay, so right here, this is going to determine which needle is going to be threaded. There's an L and an R, and this is a very subtle movement. See, I can just bring that left or right. The needles are close together, so this doesn't have to be a large movement. So I'd pull it for my left, push it for my right. So I'm in my right needle, so that's where I want to be. I'm going to lower my needle threader. It's going to come down and snap into place. A little hook has come through the eye of my needle. And I'm going to wrap this around, put it into all of the guides. And we're going to watch the magic happen here. Snap that into place. Lift this up. And my needle is now threaded. For those of you who have been doing this manually, you're just saying hallelujah right now. That is such an awesome feature. We love the needle threader. I'm just going to tuck that thread to the back, and we're done with that. Now I need to thread my upper looper and my lower looper. And here's where the magic of air threading comes in. I come from the days where it would take half a day, like 30, 40 years ago, half a day to thread your serger. And watch how absolutely magical this is. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to lower my looper cover, and I'm working with these 3 pieces right here. So I have my dial that's going to determine my port. This is going to tell me if I'm going to go from threading to serging, and here's my air threader right here. Now here's where a lot of people can get intimidated, and I get it. I mean, you open up the side, and there's an awful lot of machinery. But really, a lot of this, except for oiling, this doesn't really pertain to you. You're just going to let the machine happily work along. So we can close that. The only thing you're going to notice here is your looper tubes. So let's get started on that. So we have our needle done. We have to do our loopers. So again, I'm going to go to my instructions right here. So first thing I'm going to do is right now my machine is set for serging. And I'm going to move this lever over. That is now set for threading. I'm going to give my hand wheel a turn. You'll hear a click. And what that has done is the looper tubes have now engaged to be ready for air threading. So now I'm going to take my dial. I have a left port and a right port. This is my upper looper and my lower looper. So I'm going to use my upper looper. So I'm going to turn it to the left. And now I'm going to thread my machine. So again, I'm going to go right through the guide like I did before. Just give it a little floss. Now here's a little tip. To make sure that you have enough thread, I like to take my thread down, touch the top of my leg, and come right back up. That just ensures that you have enough thread. Once the air threading has done its job and shot the thread through the loopers, it's just a quick little tip that helps me have just plenty of thread. So now I'm just going to feed my thread. Here's where your tweezers come in handy, into my port. Sometimes this gets a little fuzzy. You just have to do this a couple times, so no big deal. Do not lick the end of this, please. You do not want to put any moisture into these ports. So this is the time where you're not going to lick your thread. Okay, so now I'm going to raise up my air threader and watch what happens right over here by the needle. Amazing, right? Did you see that thread shoot right through the looper? That is now threaded. Absolutely magical and wonderful. Just saved me an incredible amount of time. Now I'm ready to do my lower looper. Flip my switch. I'm going to grab my thread, go through the guide, floss, and this just becomes second nature as you do it. Now, same thing. I'm going to grab my tweezer. I'm going to take my thread, touch the top of my leg, bring it down, touch my leg. That way I'm assured I have enough length of thread. So when this all shoots through, I have plenty of thread. Okay. Cut my thread down into my port, lift up, come down, and my thread is now shot into my lower looper. Those of you who come from the days that I did, when you were manually threading your loopers, you should be cheering. You should be jumping up and down right now. Because really, folks, this took longer for me to explain it than it does to do it. It's just so easy. Okay, so now the first thing I need to do is switch over from threading to serging. So I'm going to do that, and that has pulled my looper tubes back, and I am ready to go. I'm going to close my loop, and that's it. Now, we're ready to follow along, right? So I'm going to set my pretension now because I have finished threading. So right here, I'm going to go from standard to tight because this is a tight stitch. So let's look at the standard setting of the tension dials. That's these right here. So I am using a synthetic thread. Now, you could use a woolly nylon, and I'll talk about that. A woolly nylon is a stretchy nylon thread. And I'll talk about what that is in just a second. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I'm using a synthetic thread. So I'm going to set the right needle to 3 or 4. I'll just keep it on 3 for now. My upper looper is going to be on 3, and my lower looper is going to be on 3. And that's it. Now I'm going to go to my stitch length dial. That is this dial right here. There's an inner and an outer dial. My stitch length is the outer dial, and I'm going to set that to R. Why? Because we're doing a rolled hem. My differential feed, I'm going to set for 1, which is what I have. Now, you have something called a chaining. Well, before, I don't want to get too far. All right, let me go ahead and talk to you about differential feed. Some of you who may be confused as to what that is. Now, your feed dogs on your serger are split into 2 parts. You have a front feed dog and a back feed dog. They're split in 2. The back feed dog move. The front feed dog, you can either speed up or slow down based on your differential feed. So that's how you could do ruffles or the lettuce edging that we're going to do. That's exactly how you're going to work that. That's all that is. It's just feeding at a different rate. The front feed dogs are feeding at a different rate. Now, you have a chaining finger, which is right here. And I'll open up my looper so you can possibly see this. So I'm going to put it on S for serging. And my little thread finger, if you look at the end of my screwdriver, it's this tiny little finger right here. And as I move this back to R for rolled hem, do you see it disappear? There it's on S, and now it's disappeared. So we do not want a serger will form a stitch on those chain fingers, and we don't want it to. So that for rolled hemming. Okay? Now let's go back. Our upper knife is activated, which it is. I'm using the right needle. It's telling me which needle thread to use and what fabric this would be perfect for. And again, Janome has wonderfully allowed the reference to go back to pages 10 through 13 on how to adjust all these different things as well. It gets into it a little bit better. So it's just very, very clear and precise. So really, again, it took longer to explain it than it did to do it. So I'm ready to go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my looper thread over to the back here. I'll switch my camera over to the close-up so that you can see a little bit better as to what I'm doing. And now I'm going to insert my fabric. So we're going to use this little sample, like this would be like a napkin, so to speak, right? So we're going to put it in. We're going to lower our presser foot, and we're going to just serge away. Now, I am not pulling, I'm not tugging, I'm not stretching, I'm just guiding. That's all I'm doing. Let it chain off a little bit, and there you go. Look how beautiful. You see what I mean? The machine does all the work for you. Now I'm going to raise my presser foot up just a little bit, put my fabric back in, and I'll do my next side. Did you see that I only used one hand? This machine just feeds so beautifully, I used one hand. Now, Janome does have a little thread catcher that you could add to this too. So it just kind of just sits right underneath. and that's your little scrap catcher. So we'll do that. Now, what you're going to do is you can do this a couple different ways. So what I like to do, just the very simple way with these extra tails that you're going to have in the corner, just trim those off and use a seam sealant. Seam sealant is permanent. It will cover those stitches and it will prevent any kind of locking. And yes, you can wash it. So really, folks, that's it. And do you see how fast that took? Just two sides. So you can imagine how fast it would be when you're just doing it on your own. Now, I talked earlier about woolly nylon, and I've got another sample here of woolly. Do you notice how this sample here is, the thread is much fuller than the upper thread? It looks fine. This looks fine, but I like the way this woolly nylon looks at the bottom here. Now, woolly nylon is just another thread that is a, you see how I hope you can see this. You see how this is kind of fraying at the ends? This is a very loose thread. It's a very loose, like stretchy kind of nylon thread. So what happens is once you stitch, that thread will expand and completely cover all of the area that you're stitching in. So it kind of closes those gaps a little bit. So it makes it look fuller, and it's very soft. So it's a very soft feel to it. So really just kind of depends on what you want to do. Now, sometimes what will happen is on the edges is you're going to have what we call serger stubble. And what that is it's going to be all of these little frayed edges that are popping out of your stitches. A way to prevent that very quickly, you're going to take a piece of fabric, whatever you're stitching on, and you're going to take a clear water-soluble stabilizer. So it has to be clear because why? You need to see where you're stitching. So we're just going to place them underneath the presser foot, and we're going to serge that. We're just going to do our rolled hem. Also, do you notice how much quieter this serger is? And so there you go. So now all I have to do is just very gently tear the wash away from my stitching, and it's all under there, and you get no more of that serger stubble. Now this can be washed, and that will all go away. So all that serger stubble is going to go away. So let's do a lettuce hem. So how this is going to work on a woven piece of fabric is you're going to have to cut on the bias because it doesn't, a woven fabric doesn't really have stretch inherently. So you have to create the stretch. So that's going to be in the bias. Now, normally we're very careful about how we handle bias, and you should be. But with this machine, when you're doing the rolled edge, you're going to be able to adjust your settings. And I'm going to go back to my main screen so you can see exactly how we're going to do this. Okay, so now I'm going to adjust my lower looper, and I'm going to tighten. I'm going to go up to about a 7. And I'm going to come over to my differential feed, and I'm going to set it at about a 0.5. That's about as low as it'll go. Now, instead, what's going to happen is the front feed dogs are going to feed at a different rate. So it's almost like a ruffle that we're creating here. They're slowing it down to push that fabric into the back feed dog. It's kind of holding it back. So watch what happens. Now, a little trick that I like to do is once I get started, let me change my camera over here so you can see that a little better. Okay, so I've got things started. One thing I like to do is, now what you're going to do is inherently what you don't want to do. You want to incorporate stretch into this. That will help with this technique. So I'm holding the back here, right in the back. I'm holding my threads, and I'm just going to gently tug while I am pulling back on the front. So I'm kind of tugging on both ends. Now you want to be careful. This is a technique you have to practice because you could risk having skipped stitches. So you just give a little tug, and you can kind of see right here. I'm getting that build up here. So I'm giving a tug in the back, and I'm pulling on the front, just very gently. This is not a dramatic technique. Just keep kind of feeding it through. Let the machine do its job. And what's happening is you're getting a buildup of thread. So this technique, you're getting more than, you see how, now look at that. Isn't that amazing? And all I did was made two small, simple settings. Now let's do some of this on a knit. Now here's where a serger really shines, is when you're doing knits, right? This just scares people working on a regular machine. You can do it, but it's so much nicer on a serger. So let's do a lettuce edge on this machine as well. I'm going to tug on my back to let it feed. And again, I'm going to just kind of give a little tug back here. I'm going to stretch it in the front. Again, normally we don't want stretch, but in this technique, we do. Come off, and there is my lettuce hem. Isn't that awesome? And all I did was just stretch a little bit. Again, it's just two simple settings. So there you have it, folks. I mean, I could just go on and on about sergers. I absolutely love them. I adore them. I think they're such a wonderful addition to your sewing room. So let me get to some of your questions real quick, because I kind of went over just a little bit. So I just want to close my screen off. There we go. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, I'm Jerry Granata. Let me go ahead and answer some of your questions and see what's going on here. Can you do this without taking the needle out and just threading one needle? You can, Joyce, but the problem is you don't want to create, it depends on what you're stitching on. You don't really want to create any more holes in your fabric than you want. And it could be that you see those holes from your left needle. So you really should remove that needle. You know, it could also end up with some very crazy kind of stitches. So it's best to follow the manufacturer's recommendation and remove that left needle. Okay, what else? Anything else? I hope you enjoyed that. I hope this was informative to you. I hope I've talked to a lot of you at events and you still have your sergers in the box. So I'm hoping that you get them out and start playing with them. You're not going to hurt them at all. They are very powerful machines. They will plow through denim, leather, just about anything that you can throw at it. Now, again, with the rolled hem, you're not going to use denim and leather, but you're going to use a little bit softer fabrics. But you can see just how simple and easy it was. So what did you think? Let me know. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think about the serger? I love it. I think it's wonderful. I think it's an absolutely wonderful serger. It is truly the best serger I've ever used. I just love this machine. So, all right. Monica would love some more demos on the serger. I agree. I would love to show more. And I also have the Cover Stitch Pro, which lives right next to my serger, which I may also do a skill builder on, or maybe a separate video on. But I will definitely do some more on serging. I love it. You know, serging is not just for garments, folks. It's also for decorative. It does beautiful decorative stitching. It's also great for if you want to put a quilt together quickly. You can quilt with, you can piece with your serger as well. And you can get them done very, very fast. All right, anything else? I have an air threader. What a miracle of modern technology. Joyce, I could not agree more. Again, I come from those days where it took a long time to thread a serger, and you had to, and I have, you know, I'm a guy, so I have thicker fingers to get my fingers into where the loopers were. Whew, thank goodness for air threading. Thank you, Janome, for having an air threader. All right. Anything else? Anything else? Hit me. Love the Cover Pro. I do too. I just love that machine. It is awesome. All right, folks, I'm gonna head out. I hope you had a great time. I hope you learned another skill. Again, what you're going to do is you're going to take a picture of yourself using your serger, or remember I said I was going to tell you very quickly, for those of you who do not have a serger, let me go ahead and switch my camera around because I'm going to show you another way that you can kind of get around this. If you do not have a serger, and we want to make sure if you want to be included in the contest, we certainly want that to happen. I did a little sample here. If you have your D foot, get your Janome D foot out. This is your rolled hem foot. So if you don't have a serger, you could do this on your regular Janome machine. But we want you to be included in the contest, so you're going to have to do it's a little different than it's on the serger, but it is a rolled hem. It does a beautiful job. This D-foot does an absolutely beautiful job. Look how even the stitches are, and look how even it is from the top of that folded edge. So grab your D-foot. If you have an M7, 9450, whatever machine you have, grab your D-foot, do some rolled hemming, and get yourself into the contest, because we want to see what it is you come up with. You people are so creative. It's amazing. I've seen some of your things. I've seen the show and tells at events, and you all just inspire me as well. So I want to thank you very much for being here. Again, my name is Jerry Granata. I am a Janome educator. I will stick around for a little while and answer some of your questions, but have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful time. Hope the rest of your week goes really, really well. Happy quilting, happy serging, and happy sewing. We'll see you soon. Bye.